Good day, my OM TQM students, and welcome to the discussion of Activity 2 for our Lesson 2 Decision Making. So this activity can be found on your Learning Packet 1, but make sure that you had read the preliminary parts of our Lesson 2 Decision Making. Before we proceed, make sure that you copied Activity 2 on your Learning Packet 2. So after copying, don't forget to label it as Activity 2 with your name, section, schedule, and the date you're going to answer, but take note of our deadline of submission. In decision making, we make use of the decision theory approach, and the decision theory could be represented by a payoff table. So a payoff table looks like this one, the same thing or the same table that I have on your activity 2, on your learning packet 2. And in decision theory, it should have these three elements. So the first element is the possible future conditions or the possible states of nature or the possible future demand for your products or services. So there will be a possibility that the demand for your product will be low or it will be moderate or it will be high. So those are the possible things that may happen to your sale or demand. And then the second elements are the different alternatives. So in our payoff table, since we will be deciding to construct a facility and we have to decide among the following alternatives whether to construct a small size facility, a medium size facility, and a large size facility. So those are the alternatives or those are the choices available for us. And the third element of our decision theory, represented again by this payoff table, are the known payoffs. So when we talk about payoff, it represents the possible income or possible losses on those different alternatives under the possible future conditions. So if the payoff is positive, that means income, and if the payoff is negative, that means loss. So the following figures that you can see are represented in terms of millions of pesos. So 10 means 10 million, 7 million, then we have a loss of 4 million pesos. And this amount are based on the cost-benefit analysis. So there will be a cost-benefit analysis under each alternative. So let us say in a small size facility, what are the possible costs and expenses, what will be the possible income, and then the net effect will be 10 million under low, moderate, and high. So there will be a research or study in order to come up with the payoff under each alternative. So the same thing with the medium size facility and large size facility. You have to conduct a cost-benefit analysis before you come up with the different corresponding income and expenses, or rather loss. Before we continue with activity 2, make sure that you had able to copy the problem or you had able to print the problem on activity 2 of your learning packet 2. In decision making, we have to understand the different types of environments we will be working with. And there are three types of environment. First, certainty, uncertainty, and an environment of risk. Requirement A of activity 2 requires us to make decision under environment of certainty. And under environment of certainty, it is easy for us to make decisions whether to construct a small size facility, a medium size facility, or a large size facility because we are certain of what will happen in the future. We are certain about the possible states of nature. We are certain about the possible future demand of our product. Let us start with letter A, which is determining the best alternative in case demand will be low. Again, we are making a decision under environment of certainty. That is requirement A. So under environment of certainty, we are certain we know what will happen in the future. So given our payoff table having the following alternatives, small, medium, and large size facility, you have to decide which among the three will be implemented. So if it is known with certainty that demand will be low, all you have to do is to look at the low column. And on our low column, we have the following payoff amount: 10 million pesos, 7 million pesos, and 4 million pesos loss. So after looking at the amount under the first column, which is low, again, we're looking at the low column because we are certain that demand will be low. So that means tiyak mo, alam na alam natin, sure tayo that demand will be low. So looking at the payoff table, you have to choose the alternative that will give us the highest amount or the highest payoff, and you choose the alternative that corresponds to that highest amount. Okay, I will give you a few seconds to decide on that. Again, look at the column for low because we are certain that demand will become low, and the amounts are 10 million, 7 million, and 4 million loss. You choose which among the three is the highest payoff. Again, 10, 7, and negative 4. And then choose the alternative that corresponds to the highest payoff. Write down your answer. Again, you are certain that demand will become low. Choose the highest payoff under the column low and choose the alternative that corresponds to that highest amount. Let us now check your answer. Okay, give yourself 2 points if you've got the correct answer. So if you are certain that demand will become low, the best alternative is a small size facility because that will give us the highest payoff. 2 points for that. Check your work, please. Next, letter B. In case we are certain that demand will become moderate, so do not look at the low column. Class, look at only the moderate column. So do the same thing. Choose the best alternative by looking at the highest payoff. So under moderate, we have 10 million, 12 million, and 2 million. So you have to choose among these three the highest payoff and then make a decision by choosing the alternative that corresponds to that highest payoff. Look at again, 10, 12, and 2. What is the highest amount? Then choose the alternative that will give you or that corresponds to the highest payoff. Write it down now. If this is your answer for letter B of requirement A, under moderate demand, the highest value or the highest payoff is 12 million pesos and that corresponds to medium-sized facility, your answer is correct. Give yourself 2 points for that. Now let's move on to letter C of requirement letter A. We are certain that demand will become high. So do not look at the low, do not look at the moderate column. So just look at the high column. We're looking at the high column because under letter C, we are required to determine the best alternative if it is known with certainty that demand will be high. So you disregard low, you disregard moderate because you are certain, you are sure that demand will become high. So you could now make a decision very easy by comparing 10 million, 12 million, and 16 million pesos. And you have to choose the highest among those three and choose the alternative that corresponds to the highest payoff. So again, write down your answer. So your answer would be based on the highest payoff under the column high. 10 million, 12 million, and 16 million. Then choose the alternative that corresponds to that highest payoff. Write it down on your paper. This is our answer for letter C. If we are certain that demand will become high, that will be very easy for us to make our decision. Constructing a large size facility will give us the highest payoff, which is 16 million pesos. So that will be our decision. So do not be confused. Why is it that we have a different answer for low, moderate, and high? Different alternative or different decision under each possible future demand, because those given, no, those requirements are independent with one another. So for letter A, so what is given is that we are certain that demand will become low, so we choose small size facility. And then requirement B, we are certain that demand will become moderate. It's not low, it's not high, but it will be moderate. So our decision is a medium-sized facility. And then on letter C, it's not low, it's not moderate. We are certain that demand will become high. So our decision is to construct a large size facility. So it will happen one at a time. Hindi naman sabay-sabay na magiging low, moderate, or high ang demand sa product natin. So there are products na seasonal, may time na low sila, may time na moderate, may time na high ang demand sa product nila. So those are independent assumptions. So if it is low, sa low lang tayo titingin. If it is moderate, it's moderate. And if it is high, it's high. Okay, so before we continue, summarize your score for letter A requirements. So 2 points each. So that will give us a total of 6 points. So under environment of certainty, it is very easy for us to make decision because we know what will happen in the future. Requirement B requires us to make decision under environment of uncertainty. So this type of environment is the opposite of an environment of certainty. So under uncertainty, we are not sure, we don't know what will happen, but we have to make a decision. We don't know the possibility of the sale for our product or demand for our product, but in a business, of course, we have to make decision. So that's why having the payoff table, we have to choose among the best alternatives. Under this type of environment, we could use any of the 4 criteria. So the first criteria is the Maximax Criterion, wherein you're going to choose or you determine the best possible payoff and choose the alternative with that payoff. So under Maximax Criterion, we are considered as a positive thinker. We are considered as optimistic decision maker. So that is why in an environment of uncertainty, we don't know what will really happen. We have to look at the brighter side of the world. So that's why we will be choosing the best possible payoff. And when we say best possible payoff, it is the highest value, it is the highest amount, and choose the alternative with that payoff. Let us proceed with the activity. So for B.1, we will be using the Maximax Criterion. So again, we are working under environment of uncertainty, and actually we have all in all 4 criteria. So the first one is the Maximax Criterion. Again, under Maximax, we are a positive thinker. We are optimistic. We are looking at the bright side of the world. So that's why we are choosing the best payoff. So when we talk about the best payoff, that means the highest amount. So write it down on your paper. Look at the table that I have here. Choose the best payoff, choose the highest amount, and write it here on the blank that corresponds to the best payoff. Okay, so after choosing the best or the highest payoff, you have to look at the alternative that corresponds to that highest payoff. So that will be your decision. So again, the best payoff that you had chosen, write it down here. And then your decision will be the alternative that corresponds to that highest amount. Okay, so if your answer is this, so check your work. So you have 16 million pesos, that's the best payoff, and that corresponds to a large size facility. So that is under Maximax Criterion. Okay, next one, still on environment of uncertainty. So I've mentioned that we have 4 criteria all in all under this type of environment. The second one is the Maximin criterion. So under Maximin, it's the opposite of Maximax. So in Maximax, we are a positive thinker, optimistic decision maker. But under Maximin, if the decision maker is pessimistic, he is a negative thinker. Instead of looking at the best, he's looking for the worst. So under Maximin, we have to determine the worst under each alternative. And when we talk about worst, that means the lowest amount. Let's proceed with B.2, Maximin Criterion. So here's how you're going to conduct decision making under environment of uncertainty and using the Maximin Criterion. So look at the table. So this will be the first step. We have to determine the worst or the lowest possible payoff under each alternative. So you have to examine first the small size facility and compare the figures, the payoff, 10 million under low, moderate 10 million, and then high another 10 million. First, you have to choose the lowest among these three, 10, 10, 10. Please choose which is the lowest and write it down here on the small alternative. Okay, so that is how you're going to do it. So in small, of course, 10, 10, 10, the same figure. So we'll come up with 10 as the lowest amount. So we do the same under medium-sized facility. Compare 7, 12 million, and 12 million. Again, when we talk about the worst, it represents the lowest possible payoff. So compare 7, 12, and 12 and choose the lowest among the three. Write it down here. Write it now. Okay, so that's it. So comparing 7, 12, and 12, the lowest is 7. So that means you've got 1 point and another 1 point here. Then let's try to do the large size facility. Again, the worst or the lowest possible payoff. Under low, it's -4, and then moderate is 2, then high is 16. So choose among -4, 2, and 16. What is the lowest value? What is the lowest possible payoff? And write it down here. After determining the lowest amount under each alternative, again, we get the lowest possible payoff because in Maximin, we are determining the best worst. So we'll start with determining the lowest possible payoff. So again, in small, we have 10 million. That's the lowest amount. In medium, we have 7. And in large, we have 4 million pesos. So these are the lowest possible payoff. Then, to have our final answer, you're going to write here which among this lowest amount, 10, 7, and -4 is the highest. And then, after choosing the highest among the lowest amount, you write down the decision here. So all you have to do is to look at the alternative that corresponds to that highest among the lowest amount. So again, for us to have our final decision, compare 10, 7, and -4. Which among 10, 7, and -4 is the highest? Write it down here. And then, what is the alternative that corresponds to the highest among the lowest? Is it small, medium, or large facility? Write your decision here. Okay, do it now. Determine the highest among the lowest and write down the alternative here. Here is our final answer in Maximin Criterion. So again, small 10, medium 7, and large is -4. Comparing these three, the highest among the lowest is 10 million pesos. So that's why we have 10 million here. And then that 10 million corresponds to small size facility. So our final decision is to construct a small size facility. If you got this right, so check your work. So we have 2 points for 10 million, 2 points for 7 million, 2 points for 4 million pesos negative, another 2 points for 10 million pesos, and for your final decision, which is small, 2 points. Let us now have a recap of our score. For certainty, we have a total of 6 points. And then for Maximax, we have 2 points. And then for Maximin, since 2 points each, we have all in all 10 points. So again, under Maximax, we choose the alternative that has the highest payoff. And then under Maximin, the first thing that we have done is to choose the lowest payoff under each alternative, and after getting the lowest payoff, we choose the highest among the lowest. Next criterion under environment of uncertainty is Laplace, wherein all we have to do is to get the average and choose the alternative with the best average. So this will be the step. To continue with activity 2, B.3 requirement, Laplace criterion. So create a table like this one for us to compute the average. Or kahit hindi kayo mag-create ng table, just follow the instruction. You must lay down the alternative. So copy. Everybody do it. Small, medium, large. And then we have to get the total. So write it down on your paper. Small, medium, and large. Okay. Then under small size facility, we have to get the total. 10 million, 10 million, 10 million. Write it down here. Under the total column, alternative, small facility. The sum of 10 million, 10 million, and 10 million. Write it down here. And then next for medium, 7, 12, and 12. Get the total of these three, 7, 12, and 12. Write it down here on this column. Okay, to proceed, we have large size facility, -4, 2, and 16. Get the total of these three and write it down here on the total column under large facility. So be careful in getting the total of -4, 2, and 16 because we have here a negative figure. So you have to determine the net effect of that. So write it down here. So again, 10, 10, 10, 7, 12, 12, negative 4, 2, and 16. Write down the total here. Okay, check your work. You should arrive at the same figure, 30, 31, and 14. So very good for those who had arrived at the same figures. And then we have to divide it by 3 to get the average. So please determine the average. So 30 divided by 3. We're going to divide it by 3 because we have 3 possible future demand, low, moderate, and high. So in case on the given, we have 4 possible future demands, so you'll divide it by 4. In case we have only low and high, so that means we have to divide it by 2 only. Okay, so I will give you a few seconds to get the average. 30 divided by 3, 31 divided by 3, and 14 divided by 3. Okay, then afterwards, you determine the highest average. Look at the average column. Write it down here, the highest average. And for your final decision, determine or look at the alternative that corresponds to the highest average. Do it now. Determine the average and then get the highest average. Write it down here and write down your decision here. Will it be small, medium, or large? That will give us the highest average. Okay, check your work. These are the averages that we had computed. And the highest average is 10.33. And that corresponds to medium-sized facility. Check your answers for B.3. All with yellow highlight will be given 2 points each. So that's why all in all, the total score is. So that's it for our activity 2. So the last criterion, which is the minimax regret, will be discussed on the next video, but that will be unrecorded. But still, you have to follow my instructions on the video for you to understand how to do it. So for activity 1, we're just going to have the requirement A and requirement B under environment of certainty and environment of uncertainty using the Maximax, Maximin, and Laplace. So I have here a practice exercise. So you could take a screenshot of this and you could copy it for you to have another set of exercise to answer. So we're going to answer it during our online class. Make a final recap of your score. Perfect score is 34. I hope everybody got perfect score of 34. So don't forget to take a picture of your activity 2 and upload it together with your score on our Google the proper inbox. Bye everyone. Thank you for watching the activity 2 video.